Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mark Goldberg, and this is Mark Vlogs Watches. Today is going to be a Sunday Rolex day. So I'd like to thank you in advance for joining me on this completely unscheduled live stream. Some of you will be watching it. In fact, most of you will be watching this stream after the live is already over. People will be coming into the room shortly as they get notified that I've done a surprise chat. But if you don't like live streams because they don't really have focus, usually that's for the first few minutes. So you can just scrub ahead a little bit and we will move further into the topic. But today I'm going to want to talk about the new Rolex Challenge. Now, I will give you the quick fist watch check right now. I'll probably have to do it again. But in honor of the new titanium Rolex Challenge, I'm wearing the sister company's first titanium watch, which of course is the Tudor Pelagos in blue. And we got to talk about the Pelagos, and we want to talk also too about the pronunciation of that word, which has confounded me for the 5 years that I've owned this watch. But we'll talk. However, first, I would like to say hello to the punters that have joined me so far. I would like to say hello to Valen Greymoon, first fist respectos, my friend. I'm glad for you to join me. Thank you so much. Alexander Junior Johnson, 5 hours south of me in Old Kentucky. Alexander is in Switzerland. Well, home of most of the watches that we like. Paul M, Rob Givens, Der Stiefel joining us from Detroit, or at least Michigan. Scott, my Pelagos 39 feels like a 5-digit sub. Scott, you have actually identified the entire reason I don't want one. I've got 42 millimeters of brawny grade, whatever this is, titanium. And I got rid of all my 5-digit subs. I even my 6-digit subs, the pre-ceramics, they just feel flimsy. So am I watching this live? Tony. Is this real? What kind of drugs are you taking, Tony? Yes, you're watching this live. Is this real? Charlie bit my finger. You got a cozy place, Mark. Lovely piano. Well, thank you, Matt. Actually, I keep that piano in the safe when I'm not home because I'm afraid somebody will steal my piano. So I keep it in the safe when I'm not home. And unlike Archie, I set an alarm as well. Blue Punk, hello from the United Kingdom. Respecto, sir. Thank you for joining us. Watch of Wall Street is on his way to the AD. Well, watch. What's happening? What are you getting? What's going on? Did you get the call or are you just going there to browse? Tell us what's happening. Nice to see you live again, Ahmed. Well, thank you for being with me. The Rancher. Hello, Mother. Rancher. This is a completely unscheduled. It's going to be me in the audience for a little while, but when we get a little deeper into this, I'll send you a link. For those of you who are Rancher fans, all three of you. Manny from Miami, trying to get my first Rolex. Well, bless your heart. The first one is the hardest one. The first cut is the deepest. So we can talk all about how those punters who have AD relationships formed them. People like me. Are you sure, Tony? Make sure you keep your safe in the only room with no seats. Poor Archie. I mean, I did talk to him last night. I went on, Clyde and I, we went on the Archie stream last night, the beg stream, the robbery stream last night. And, but I talked to Paul beforehand and yeah, it's a relative SH show over there. Kind of a shame. I mean, he's gutted, as the Brits and Aussies say. Sean from Dayton, Ohio. Scott, Mark, I'm considering selling my Pelagos, is it? 39 and getting a 5-digit sub since I always feel like I'm wearing a vintage anyway. And my Zin 556 is my travel adventure watch. I like the Zin line, but I don't know which one that is. The 556. I got the 104 and the 105. The 105 comes in a UTC model, which is like a GMT, but I have the day date 105, which anyway. Yeah, I do like the line of Zin watches a whole lot. But I mean, bro, if you got to sell a Pelagos to buy a Rolex, I wouldn't, I don't know. I think this is the one to have. It's got the date. It's got the inset hour markers. Personally, for me, this is the one to have. But, I have this big, broad, beautiful wrist. I don't know about you, Scott. Thomas, and hello from Malaysia. Thank you for joining us all the way in Asia. Val and Grey Moon, keep the safe in a safe. Exactly. I mean, well, look at this place. This is, there's a bit of security here. At Mark Goldberg, no, the drain unblockers is a shite show. AC3 is even worse. I see. Oh, that was Clydesy. Well, what can you do, Clyde? What can you do? How's that Sprite doing now, man? Well, Tom, I like it. It is in rotation. I got a Pepsi also, and so the Pepsi and the Sprite kind of vie for my attention. They each have their charm. I mean, only a Rolex nut, okay, could have two nearly identical watches. A half a bezel, the bezels are different and the handing is different, but like, let's be real, the functions of those watches and the dials, for all intents and purposes are functionally identical. But a Rolex nut like me and like you people, all we see are the differences, right, between those two watches. So I would be very hard pressed to pick between them. The Pepsi has the advantage of that incredible bezel. That blue and green is somewhat, or the blue and red is somewhat more striking than the black and green of the Sprite, which I also like a lot. But the red pops. So does the blue and the light. But that Sprite, they've done something, guys. Rolex has done something to their patented Chromolite lume. They've done it recently, and my Sprite is like, brand spanking new, obviously, because it's just released very recently, like, I don't know, 6 months ago. And the Chromolite is stronger on the Sprite than on any other Rolex I have or ever had. It's as though, and I would estimate it's 10, 15, maybe as much as 20% brighter and longer lasting. So they've done something beautiful, and I'm a lume nut. So they've done something wonderful to their lume. Makes me want to get all my watches re-lumed now. Der Stiefel, haven't worn a Rolex in months. Not over the brand, but enjoying a break, wearing the less hyped stuff that everyone else isn't walking around with on wrist. I feel you, and I'm very, very often wearing non-Rolex brand watches myself, like Zinn and Breitling are some of my favorites. And I have a couple of Omegas too. But when you say everyone is walking around with a Rolex on their wrist, I mean, in the circles that we travel on social media, Der Stiefel, yeah, it's true. We've all got the same stuff. But if you walk around seeing Rolex constantly in the wild, then you're only in Beverly Hills, and you'd be seeing more Richard Mille. I don't think you're seeing all that much. I rarely see Rolex in the wild, to be honest with you, unless I'm in like a hoity-toity place, like business class on a jet, or the United Club at the airport. Even then, I'm seeing more Apple watches than good watches. Looking to trade a Tudor Black Bay Pro. Yeah, the Pro is the old vintage Rolex reissue with the steel bezel and the GMT function. It's just that it looks pretty darn thick. My friend Blue in Thailand has one also, and I think he's also planning to get rid of it just because he feels like it's too thick. So that seems to be the criticism there. But honestly, I'm not big on trading out of one watch in order to buy into the next one. Just save up if you can. TT Boy has just been offered 4 granny Pateks. Oh, the poor pontiff. I mean, just imagine. That's a terrible thing. There will be for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Archie Luxury Show emanates from Brisbane, Australia. Paul Pluta, the method actor who plays Archie Luxury, or Archibald Chesterfield III, the Minotaur, the Pontiff. He is known by many names, Satan being one of them. He went on like a month-long voyage here to the United States, and when he got home, his safe had been broken into, and $200,000 of watches had been stolen. Basically, his entire collection of Patek and Rolex had been stolen, except for the one Rolex he had worn to the United States, which was a 42 millimeter Polar Explorer. So Devastating. And there was no insurance. There's no insurance rider on his collection. So of the $200,000 approximate value of that collection, he'll have lost probably $180,000, $190,000 of it, because homeowners will cover a little, but not a lot. You need an insurance rider specifically on your watches, guys. Otherwise, your homeowners isn't going to cover you. Kareem, if you turn down a Rolex at the AD, how much damage does this do at all to the relationship and your likelihood to get the next one? I'm actually asked, Kareem, I'm asked that question with great regularity. And here's what I think. Like so many questions and answers, I'm going to have to go with the it depends. So let me give you a few little scenarios. Let's say you've gone in there and you don't have a previous buying history. Let's just say you've gone in cold and you've registered for, like, you've expressed interest in a Starbucks, a Batman, and a Daytona, one of any Daytonas. In other words, you've gone in there and you've said, hey, I want any one of these hype watches that are impossible to get. And they tell you, okay, well, we'll keep an eye out. We'll give you a call. And then 5 months later, they call you and they've got a 41 millimeter two-tone Datejust with your name on it. Or they have a Yachtmaster 40 millimeter, or they have, let's see, what else could it possibly be? Let's say maybe an Explorer, what is that? 38, 39 millimeter, whatever that is now, 36, they made it 36. So they call you with that 36 millimeter Explorer and they say, hey, we know you're waiting for these ones, but we got that one for you. My thinking is, if you've registered for all hype watches and you have no buying history and they offer you something like that, you should buy it. To express interest in forming that relationship. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't buy a garbage watch that you don't want. So if they say, hey, we got this Tag Heuer, nah. But, if they call you, we've got the silver Tudor, maybe. So I think you have to think in terms of getting your toe in the water and establishing relationship with them, going back into the store 6 months later and saying, look, I've got it. It's beautiful. I love it. You want to polish it for me or just inspect it. Is it okay? Then I think, yeah, you better take it. Now, if they call you with we've got this diamond bezel lady Datejust in 28 millimeter, no, pass. So I think, yes, under certain circumstances, it could damage the relationship. But let's say you've had multiple buying experiences from them and you have a no date ceramic black sub and you have you've already got an Explorer and you're waiting for a GMT, but they call you with an offer of an Air King and you pass, then I don't think it's such a big deal because you've got buying history established and you're showing commitment not to the first rollie that they throw at you, but to the purity of your collection. So again, it depends. Scott, I'm not a Rolex nut. I have only one Rolex. Well, there's still hope for you, Scott. Maybe we can suck you over to the dark side and get you 3 or 4 more. Mark, have you seen the Tissot PRX in the Tiffany blue, mint green? It's quartz, but it will scratch the Tiffany blue itch for $300. I have not. I have seen it. I've saw it in its original iteration, which I think was a dark blue dial. But listen, I mean, everybody and their brother is making the Tiffany blue. I mean, honestly, I have a, what do I have? I've got the, I'll show you a picture of it. I've got the Doxa in Tiffany blue. Let me just find it. Hang on, people. It's here. Where are you, Tiffany blue? Oh, here it is. Oops. Damn it. Went to the wrong place. Bear with. But everybody's making, Zinn is making Tiffany blue, and who else? Zinn is doing Tiffany blue. That's the Doxa 200 sub. Zinn is doing it. Omega is doing it. Like everybody has that, now. I'm just not a really big fan of the PRX. And not because it's quartz specifically. I really have relaxed a lot on the subject of quartz, but I just didn't particularly care for that one. doesn't hit its indices. I don't know. The bracelet was nice, but I was not a big fan. The one that I think is going to be a big winner is the automatic chronograph Tissot PRX. I think that's a big winner. Rancher says that Archie's loss is in fact a tragedy, but he's a little happy because he has 4 times more Rolex than Archie. Well, I think we all do. The gentleman who had 1 Rolex has got 100% more in his Rolex. Oh no, that's right. Archie has he still has the Explorer too. Mark, did you donate to Archie's GoFundMe page? Well, I have donated hundreds of hours, thousands of dollars worth of my time to the Archie Luxury channel. No, however, I did give out his PayPal. So, and the reason that I did that was I made a video. Go into, into my videos, and you'll find a very recent video with like 20,000 views about the robbery. If you want to get all the details, give me a second, guys. I'll just post you a link up to that here. Let me find it. So I have made a little bit of money off the tragedy that is Archie's life, just due to Google ads and views and so forth. Hang on, I'm getting the link here for you. I will paste it into the comments. There we go. Oh, that's not it. Hold on. Give me a minute. We're having technical difficulties. Got to try and copy and paste this one more time. Oh, I know why. Because I shut off Bluetooth on this computer. I got to turn it back on. All right, give me a minute and I'll get this for you. Miami and New York, you see plenty of Rolex. That's true. But, Der Stiefel is LE in Detroit, so I'm thinking not so many. All right, let's try this copy again. Copy. Now we're going to try and paste over here. There we go. So I have given you a link to that. I've given you a link there. Let me see if I can pin it. No, I can't. And if I block the user, I'm blocking me. All right. That whole pinning must be a pro thing. Craig shit. Rancher, you also have as many lady-sized Pateks as AC3 does, meaning 0. Yeah, maybe they did him a favor. People are starting to give him watches. Somebody donated a Man on the Moon Speedmaster. He wants a bluesy now. I mean, listen, cockroaches and Archibald Chesterfield III will inherit the earth. There's just no way around it, okay? So I think at the end of the day, it hurts. And I do feel terrible for him, but he'll recover. He always does. Scott, I live near Beverly Hills. I see a ton of Rolex, Cartier, Bulgari, Piaget, and I rarely see an RM. Oh, interesting. I see a lot of AP in mid-city LA. Well, here's my question for you, Scott. We in the hinterlands, Chicago burbs out here, have heard so much about Rolex assaults and thefts in the Los Angeles region. In fact, some video was released of somebody in a Beverly Hills cafe being strong-arm robbed in broad daylight for a Richard Mille. Do you worry about it, Scott? Is that just media sensationalism? Is it just because I'm reading all Rolex news that I'm constantly coming across these, London stabbings and Los Angeles gun robberies of Rolex? Is that something people are worrying about out there, or is that overblown? Tell me about Rolex theft in Los Angeles in the comments. Mark, everyone's thinking of trading stuff in. I'm thinking of trading in my black 41mm sub to buy a 321 Ed White Speedmaster. I thought I would have to add about 4 to 5K. I mean, I'm not big on trading one to get the other. You lose money when you do that, okay? Especially if you do it now. This is the time to be buying Rolex, not selling it, because you will have. I mean, even if you bought it at MSRP retail, if you'd have sold it 6 months ago, you got more. If you just hang on a year or two, it's going to be way back up. No, I don't think. My thoughts are you shouldn't do it. Scott says Hodinkee insurance is good and relatively affordable. I see it all the time on the Hodinkee app, and certainly I think it's something that people should consider. Probably is cheaper than just going through your regular homeowners insurance. Yeah, I also recommend people look at that. The Ed White has Daytona wait times, and I've heard the same thing. But I'm just not big on trading one watch to get the other, because what's going to happen is you're going to sell whatever you're selling. You're going to sell more than likely to the gray market, and you'll sell at gray market wholesale, not retail. You're not going to get what they get. They live on the difference between what they pay you and what they charge. And right now, all of them are running scared. So some of them are not even buying watches anymore. They're just taking them on consignment. Others are buying, but I guarantee you, because the market is still dribbling slightly downwards, they're being very careful about what they pay. So basically, you're going to take it up the shorts, sideways. It's going to be ugly. So you're going to lose on the sale, and you're going to lose on the purchase because they're not discounting that watch. So you're going to sell low and buy high. This is just not a good recipe for financial health. Oh, all right. Well, Dear Stiefel, you are keeping good company at the Ocean Prime dinner. Everyone's wearing a Rolex. Nice. Well, you have a nice collection. I mean, honestly, I don't know how you do it. You must have nothing that you spend money on besides watches, because your collection is super impressive. Good for you. I would buy the 36 millimeter Explorer in a heartbeat. I had the new two-tone in person, and it is awesome. I already have 3 39 millimeter Explorer. Well, you're an Explorer specialist, and there are people like Tobster McDunkey who just specialize in one kind of watch. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't talk. I have a bunch of different subs, it's just like I'm a sub freak. So what can you say? Which brings to mind the challenge. I mean, eventually we have to talk about the challenge, because I have not every dive watch Rolex ever made, but I have a pretty healthy collection of them. And then there's the challenge, made out of titanium, like this puppy. I want one. James and Sons, if you're listening, I want one. Mark, do you think it would be easier to pick up an all gold Daytona over a steel one from my AD? No. No, I do not. First of all, there is no easy to get Daytona. There is just absolutely impossible rainbow. Damn near impossible. Well, not up with the absolutely impossible rainbow and meteorite. Damn near impossible, and then it goes down from there. At the bottom of that pyramid, first of all, what we're doing is here's the pyramid, right? Here's the Daytonas, all of the Daytonas. So at the bottom of that little piece, the easiest of the impossible Daytonas to get would be the two-tone Daytona. Now, would an all gold be easier to get than steel? It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think we're splitting hairs there. The ADs are telling me that gold, they can't keep gold in stock. In inflationary times, people look at solid brands, and certainly Rolex is a solid brand. They're looking at solid brands for hedges against inflation, as well as precious metals, and a gold Daytona is both. And even though they're cheaper on the secondary market than they have been, they're still well over retail, like double retail close anyway. So, you buy a $40,000 gold sub, a $40,000 gold Daytona, and, you've immediately turned it into $70,000. So no, I don't think it's much easier. I was shocked to see the silver Tudor going for 25% off on Joma. They were even offering the FXD for 5%, which was surprising. That I agree. I didn't realize that was happening. That's really interesting. And if those Tudors, the silver Tudors, are 25% off, and if they're new, which I assume they are, that means some AD has dumped them. Now, some brands, Breitling was famous for dumping overstock, extra inventory into the gray market, and then that would just bring the prices way down. So if they thought, we'll make 1,000 of these and we'll sell them, and they couldn't sell them, 800 of them would go over there to Joma Shop, which would just kill the market. That's how I got my Breitling World Time real cheap off of Joma Shop. But Tudor is not being dumped by the brand. There's no way. But what that means is maybe some AD dumped a bunch of them off to Tudor, or to Joma, but made them take a bunch of less desirable watches. But that's surprising, and I'm going to take a look at that. The only thing, there is something that I don't like about the silver, that 925 Black Bay. There is something I don't like, and that is, naturally, it's only on bracelet, right? Because what are they going to do? Make a silver, band? This to get all scratched and beat up and tarnished and whatnot. And I'm not a bracelet guy. 34 millimeter Oyster Perpetual Blue Explorer dial. Blah blah blah. Oh, this is your collection. So I have a 34 millimeter date back in the day, and it wears a little bigger than you would think because it's got the two-tone Jubilee bracelet. So those are not. I just never wear it, but I'll never sell it either. Toaster McDunkey, PRX is overhyped. Every watch YouTube guy has been shilling it hard. Yeah, I mean, I was lent one and I did a review of it. You go back and look at my review of the PRX. I was very lukewarm on it because I'm not a fan. How much longer will it be available? Well, let me get out my crystal ball. Probably for a long time. That's what I think. Der Stiefel turned down a Sea Dweller during the first year of the pandemic. So now you're talking about when you turn something down, does it damage your relationship with and you're suggesting, Der Stiefel, that perhaps by turning down the Sea Dweller, that maybe the AD is taking revenge on you, but I wouldn't think so. I think and that's a long time ago. I think they just got hit by pandemic shortages and demand. So maybe that just, or maybe your guy retired, your sales associate. I don't know. You should stop back in and talk to them. Okie dokie. Which new Rolex model comes out in March? Well, I thought it was April that they will. I was very surprised by the challenge, that this just mid-year introduction. There is the, if you look, you will find my link to the Archie got robbed thing. Guys, I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a quick minute. There's well over 100 of you in the room. I'm not going anywhere, so don't move. What I have to go do is stir my soup, which is just in the next room. I'm making split pea soup. I will still be able to talk to you. You will undoubtedly hear me, but let me just make sure I'm not burning this stuff. Split pea soup, fellas. Uh-oh. Good thing I checked. It's running very low on liquid. So hang on, got to add some water. Don't move. Your questions and comments next. There we go. Also, it's simmering on very low. I think. Let's see if I can lower it even a little bit more. Who doesn't like a good split pea soup in the winter? All right, lowered that down a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. All right, here I am, coming back to you people. Traveling to Panama City Beach this week. Can I wear my Submariner or Panerai, or should I just bring a Seiko Turtle? Man, this is so hard to decide. I really don't know what to tell you. I probably wouldn't. I'd rather wear the Panerai than the Sub, but I might be inclined to. What I might do is I might bring that Turtle, and I might bring, let's say, the Sub. Wear both. Somebody emailed me like this cute idea. Those wristbands that the tennis players wear, for sweat. He says he just keeps one in his pocket, And he just slips it over his Rolex if he finds himself someplace where he's concerned about it. And then it just looks like he's wearing a wristband. So I don't know. Thoughts? What do you think? Is that an idea, guys? Can we do that? Now, Clyde, of course, is referring to the tragedy of Archie. Clyde, I'm going to send you a link in a couple minutes if you're still around. This tragedy hurt me too. It might have been from busting a gut laughing, but hurt is hurt. So Clyde, of course, having abdominal difficulties due to Archie's loss. Archie's loss is the rancher's gain. Scott says, oh, okay. So Scott, I had asked Scott. Scott lives in the LA region. He wears a Rolex. He says he sees lots of high-end watches all around Beverly Hills and LA. And I asked him if he worried about theft. I do not worry about it. It's all media sensation. Crime is actually going down now. That's wonderful to hear. I mean, you're boots on the ground, buddy. Because, you know, if you listen to the media enough, you get paranoid and worried. So that's actually great to hear. Okie dokie. Jimmy, thanks for joining us, Jimmy. You're right. I think I'll keep my shorts. Recon, I was telling Recon, don't trade out of one thing in order to buy the next because you'll sell low and buy high and you get screwed that way. Don't do it. You know what? The biggest problem that we watch collectors have is we get bored. I mean, we get bored. This is why when we were kids, we would trade our comic books for our friends G.I. Joe, and then we would miss our comic books and we would try and trade back, but we'd have to throw in some baseball cards in order to make it happen. I mean, you're going to lose on these transactions. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is when you get bored with a watch, put it away, bury it, hide it, forget where, write yourself a note so you remember where you put it. You know, like that movie, The Notebook, you know, but you want to hide your stuff so that you're not thinking about it. And then leave it away for like 6 months and then you can come back to it. Thomas, do you think I'll be able to get the Sprite within the next 2 years? I don't know. If you have no buying history with an AD, no. If you have buying history with an AD, yes, absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, if you have no buying history, well, you know, try and establish some. But what I would urge you to do is to consider how bad you would want that Sprite versus, let's say, a Pepsi or a Batman. The Sprite, because it's so new, is still very pricey, I think, on the secondary market. I mean, what does it sell for? Like $11,500, I think, is MSRP, and it's like $28,000, $29,000 on the secondary. So the premium is still big. But the Pepsi, which I think has a sale price of $10,500, you can get for $17,000 on the secondary market. So its premium is not as painful. I think holding out for a Sprite with no buying history is dicey because the hardest to get things from the AD, I think, are first, any Daytona, second, any GMT, third, any Submariner. That, you know, after that, it gets a little bit easier. Is the Daytona due for a major refresh? Case size has been the same. You know, I want to say, I love the current size, but I think it's due for a refresh. Look, I'm not the guy to ask. I have a terrible history lately of predicting presidential elections and what Rolex is going to do. I bitterly and dearly miss my old friend Moneypenny, who I believe has been discovered and you know, possibly shot as a traitor and a spy, or at the very least is being kept in a medical coma, chained to a radiator deep in the bowels of Rolex in the basement in Geneva, Switzerland. So I don't know anymore what's happening there. But let's just say I would have said you're insane to think that they could take that 40 millimeter Daytona and refresh it up to 41, which it's really like a 39. They're selling as a 40. So if they bumped it up just the littlest bit, I think people would like that a lot. I would like that a lot. And I have a Panda Daytona, but I would like it a lot anyway. So the answer is, I don't know. I think it would be a smart move. Honestly, I do. And but I never thought that they were going to take the 40 millimeter sub. It had been 40 millimeters for 50 years. I mean, they played with the dimensions and the lugs, the super case, the maxi dial. They played with a lot of things, but the basic 40 millimeter architecture of the thing had remained in place for a long time, like half a century. So I want to say no, but I think it's entirely possible that they might do that. Absolutely, Nub. Nub Gunner. Absolutely. Oh, Nub Gunner. What are you a dog handler in the military? As you know, dog trainer. Yeah, it looks like you got you know what? Your avatar is a little small and my eyes are a little bad, but it looks like a Malinois, but could be a shepherd, but I think you got a Mal there. Anyway, one and done Pepsi on oyster. That'd be a great one and done. Yeah. The oyster is a little fancy. The Pepsi is, but it doesn't show a lot of scratches the way the polished center links do on the oyster bracelet on that watch. And that watch is toolish enough to serve as a great travel watch. If you're in the military, Air Force, whatever it is you're doing, certainly you're crossing time zones. It's so easy to cross time zones in that watch because you don't hack the watch to change time zones. You just pull out the crown and move the hour hand. It jumps and everything else keeps on going. So it's a beautiful travel watch. And the bezel on that, could it be a one and done? You bet. Absolutely. Are you enjoying having your two Rolex GMTs, Pepsi and Sprite? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I enjoyed my two Rolex Millis in white and Z blue. Could either be the best unique Rolex experience or the worst Rolex value proposition. Well, I mean, the Millis have always been the redheaded stepchild of the line. People keep waiting for them to discontinue it. I think they're not going to discontinue it just out of cantankerousness. So I think it'll be there for a long time. I mean, the whole idea of the Milgauss is absolutely 100% outdated. There's a Faraday cage in there protecting the movement from magnetism. But in the meantime, they use the parachrome hairspring, which is magnetic proof. So it's a pointless watch. But then again, aren't watches pointless with iPhones? So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Milgauss. I do like the lightning bolt hand, but second hand, that's the only thing I like about it. Paul saw a gentleman wearing a Tiffany blue Patek. Wow. Yesterday. You creeped on him. You followed him around the grocery store to make sure it was a Tiffany Patek. So, wow. Well, that's pretty crazy. I mean, do you really, did you really spot a Tiffany Patek? By Tiffany Patek, I assume you mean that new Nautilus. It seems super unlikely. You probably remind me where you live. It just seems unlikely. It seems likelier that you either misspotted it, a Tiffany something else, or a fake. But, listen, if you live in Billionaires Row in Manhattan and, he had just stopped into the local, whole paycheck to, pick up some caviar, well, maybe. But if you saw that in the wild, that's crazy because there are very few. Over 100 people watching during the NFL season. You're developing a following. Where can we borrow the art of training your dog? Well, I don't have one handy, but you can. Thanks, Craig. And thumbs this up. I don't know why, but live streams are very hard on the algorithm. People don't like them. So if you hit the thumbs up, that will help a little bit. The Art of Training Your Dog is available wherever books are sold, along with its companion volume, Let Dogs Be Dogs. Amazon, Audible, Barnes and Noble, independent bookstores. If you are not in the United States of America, a lot of the English-speaking European countries have it on their version of Amazon, or it's on Kindle, iTunes. I mean, you can get it. You can get it every which way. Q, love your videos. What do you think of the Day-Date yellow gold with green dial versus the other yellow gold Day-Date? Okay, that's, I think, a really good question. What makes or breaks a Day-Date is the dial. Okay, first we got to talk material. There's yellow gold, there's white gold, there's rose gold, and there's platinum. Of all of those, probably the white gold is the least popular, and the platinum is the most expensive, so it's the least, it's a popular, platinum is. Although I probably like the white gold best. That's me. But when we forget about material now and we start talking about the dials, there's this giantly wide range of dials that really make or break what the Day-Date is. And that new green dial with its little bit of sunburst, I personally, it's one of my very favorite ones. So I do think it's spectacular. Just saying hello to the boo who's come downstairs for coffee. Okay, my current luxury watch collection is the Rolex Day-Date Cartier Santos Medium. Which I really like that watch, and I think the Santos Large is too large. I want to go over to my local Cartier AD and try on that medium. And the Grand Seiko, whichever one that is. I want to add on a Rolex Explorer, 36 or the 39. I mean, here's the problem. The 36, the new 36, I like the 39 millimeter better. That's me. But there's a difference between them, and that has to do with the loom. They loomed the numerals on the 36, but they're not loomed on the 39. So I think it kills both of them for me. I'm not in the market for an Explorer, but it just depends on if you prioritize size versus loom, you know? So I can't answer that question for you, but I mean, if you're an Explorer fan, I guess you can't go wrong either way. Mark, you need to try the titanium 45 millimeter 50 fathoms. I think that as a Rolex collector, you'll enjoy it. I'm not a fan. You know, on one of my trips through Hong Kong, I stopped into a Blanc Palm dealer, and I put on a 50 fathoms. And for whatever reason, it just felt like I was wearing a saucer, you know, like a pie plate on my wrist. Not a fan. What can I say? I mean, I know it's a collector's watch, but I'm just not a fan. Okie dokie. You can get the PRX for under 370. Yeah, it's cheap. I mean, it's a cheap watch, and it's hard to overhype the finishing. Don't get me wrong. If you're looking for 70s oyster quartz vibe for, you know, the price of a good steak dinner, you can't beat the PRX. But to me, it just felt overhyped and unsatisfying. That's all. No big deal there. Hi again. Ahmed got the Z Blue Milgauss from an AD after a 3 months wait. That's great. And I mean, that's a good one to start with, you know, to form a relationship, even because they get those, but there's not like a lot of demand. There's not a ton of people looking for them. You and I are deep sea dweller lovers and owners. I'm not interested in the challenge. Are you? Yes, I am. Now, you didn't say which. Oh, you have the deep sea. Okay, so you already have the 44 millimeter big boy, the biggest, baddest, meanest diver that Rolex has ever made in stainless steel. But now they've one-upped it because there's something bigger, badder, and meaner, but it's in titanium, like this blue Pelagos that I'm wearing. Yeah, I want one. I can't stand James and Sons. I can't stand that I haven't gotten one yet. And I'm starting to see people getting them on Instagram and Facebook and the forums. You know, people are posting, look what I got, you know, and there's this giant baseball. Yes, I want one desperately. I do. Ray B says it's Negroni time. No, it's not. Dude, it's too early, even with daylight savings time. If you had a chance to choose any day date, which gold would you choose and which dial? Man, I am really a fan of interesting and unusual dials. So I would probably, I mean, they have some incredible dials. They have, I really am a big fan of the mineral dials. I think they still do them, like the malachite and the lapis lazuli. And I really love those. They just don't make too many of them. Of the standard dials that you see, the white with the stark white with the Romans, not a huge fan. I mean, first off, there's no bad day date, okay? But I'm not a big fan of, generally speaking, the Roman numeral ones because those Roman numerals sadly are not loomed. The baton markers are loomed. The diamond baguette markers are not loomed. Rolex, why don't you put loom right under the diamond baguette? Can you imagine if you would charge that watch up with basically a loomed baguette? It would be brilliant. Like the light would just be incredible. Why, Rolex, heed my words. Do as I say. Loom your baguettes right under them and then just set them right down in the loom. Dear God, why haven't you done that? I suppose of the common ones, it would be the green dial, and I think that's yellow gold, not rose. But I would take like anything with one of those blue mineral dials. Well, S. Yoon, I'm not sure what else you have. Me, I would take the Starbucks because like I'm a complete fan of the Submariner, and I don't have that one, sadly. But and this is another weird thing. I made a lot of fun of the Batman when it first came out. But now, or excuse me, of the Batgirl. When the Batgirl came out, I made fun of it. But now that I have a couple of GMTs on Jubilee, I could tell you I've switched teams, guys. Not for the first time in my life have I switched teams. And I'm a big believer in the Jubilee bracelet right now. So I would say Batgirl over Starbucks, but by a hair, Starbucks over Batman. But that's just me. This is all personal taste. As you enjoy having your 2 GMTs, I enjoy my 2 Rolex Milgauss. I believe you. I mean, these things speak to your heart. Your eyes behold, your brain pleasures. You know, your hypothalamus starts tickling your dopamine and your serotonin. Your heart goes pitter patter when you see certain watches, but not others. You know, it's why you fall in love with some people, but not others. You know, the heart wants what the heart wants. Whichever ways the AD were fixated on my Milgauss for whatever reason, I was browsing and inquiring on a 2-tone Submariner. Well, okay, you bring up a pretty good point. If you go into a Rolex AD, guys, most people are not going to notice what watch you wear. I mean, only watch nuts notice watch nuts and thieves notice watches. That's it. Okay. I mean, I've tried to have discussions on airplanes like, oh, nice Daytona you're wearing. And the guy's like, what's that? I'm like, it's your Rolex. Like most people don't know. Their wife gets them something or they buy something and they forget about it because they're normal human beings. You know, they're not sitting around obsessing about their serial number and their 5-digit reference number. You know, they don't know. They don't care. However, the Rolex AD cares. And when you go into a Rolex AD, they are going to clock your watch instantaneously. And more than likely, they're not only going to mention it, but they're going to ask you if you'd like them to clean it for you. And in doing that, they're going to be making a quick determination about whether it's real or not, so they can classify you. And then they're 99% of the time, they're going to ask you, where did you buy that? And they don't do that in a challenging way. Where did you buy that? They want to know if they sold it to you. Are you one of their customers that sales associate just doesn't know? Or does some other AD love you? In which case, they might want to love you. Going into the Rolex AD before establishing a relationship with that AD is an interesting proposition. I mean, as an example, I went into a well-known AD, whose name I will not mention, wearing the full gold blue, lunette blue Rolex. Okay. And, but I wasn't dressed particularly well. So they didn't clock me at all when I went in there. I was just in, like dog trainer outfit. But before long, they noticed my gold Rollie, and they got super nice. And they're a Patek dealer. And before long, they laid out like 5 or 6 Pateks, and they wanted me to try them all on. And they just knew that somebody loved me, and that might make them interested. It's a funny world how this works. Hey, Mark, the AD here in Glasgow is not taking new inquiries for any of the professional models. And there's a wait list for the date just and the day date. Yeah. That is happening here somewhat also. The professional models, meaning the tool watches, the GMT, the Daytona, all the hard stuff, the Submariner, all the good stuff, the Explorer 2. That's depending on the AD here, that is happening also. Yeah. Just there is so much more demand than there is supply, which, by the way, is one of the reasons I'm not particularly worried about the secondary market. I mean, as the secondary market falls, either I look at my portfolio of Rolex and go, oh my God, you're shrinking. There goes my net worth. Or I look at them and I go, I can add to the fold. I can buy more of you. Guys, don't move. I'm going to put you on for a second because I've got a German Shepherd telling me she's got to go poop. I'm going to listen. I just got to let her out. I'll be right back. Okay, well, dog is out. The soup is getting there, but it's going to, the split pea soup I've been making the whole time we're sitting here and simmering on the stove, and it's definitely getting there for texture and flavor, but it needs salt. I'm really careful about salt, blood pressure, and all like that. So, but I'm going to have to add a little bit in. And, I didn't have a ham bone, but I had a rotisserie chicken. So I threw chicken bones in there just to, give it a little bit more, I don't know, just to give the broth a little bit more sustenance and deepen the flavors. I put a splash of apple cider vinegar in there, and I'm only sorry that I don't have any lemon juice concentrate. Oh, I do. I'll put that in last. If you add your lemon juice concentrate too early, much like your vinegar, it just kind of cooks off. It was nice to see Don Haynes yesterday. Has he added any new watches lately? Well, Don was appeared on with Clydesy and me over on the Archie Luxury channel, but what happened was his audio was bad, so he never really, he just clocked in and out of there like 10 times, and then he gave up and started texting me. Of course, he told me, "Don't text me, you're screwing up my microphone," which was why I wasn't, but then I would just, hi. I just kept texting him to irritate him. Has he bought any new watches? He bought a Norcane, but then he didn't like its accuracy, so he sent it off for service like 2 weeks after he bought it. It's just like big Norcane diver that I was like, I don't know why he bought that. Bella, we were talking about this earlier because one of my watch buddies. Speaking of, that's so funny. Oh, you asshole. The rancher. All right, rancher, hold on. I'll send you a link. I know what this is all about. Guys, before the rancher gets here, do me a big favor and quick hit the like button. Because I don't know what it is about the rancher, but he's divisive. And Clyde, I'm going to kick you off of this the first time you say the F word or anything that's going to mess the monetization of this. I will boot you right out of this stream. So you're going to have to behave. Now give me a second and let me invite you. Invite. Copy. All right. Hold on. There we go. We'll bring Clyde into the stream. And I dearly love Clyde, but he's got a mouth on him. Tom Cusano says crime going down, LOL. Well, I'm inclined to be with you, Tom, because, I keep hearing about just more and more crime. Well, specifically Rolex crime. You have to remember LA is one of the highest per capita rich people areas, so it's going to haven more frequently by absolute number, but per capita is still rare. Listen, if you haven't had any friends of yours or people that you know get hit over the head for their Rolex, that's a good thing. And if you're wearing yours out and about and you haven't had a scary moment, that's a better thing. I really want to feel the steel, meaning the metal, not to feel the steel, meaning the theft. It's really sad when you can't wear your watches. Mark, what's your thought on rose gold day date versus the yellow gold? I've got some yellow gold. I love the rose gold. It's just a little bit more under the radar because it's not so bright. But I think yellow gold is the popular one. I think rose gold is the, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more classy. The one, the only, Clyde Anderson, the rancher. And Clyde, what's your avatar there today?
That is what I call the dead nephew blanket.
Now, we're going to have to be very careful of Clyde, because I'm going to need you to watch your language. But first, explain the history of the blanket, and then we will very cautiously.
You want me to widen the shot back up just a little bit, or just keep it where it is?
Well, let me see if I can make you the big guy here. So, yeah, that'll do. But that, first of all, that blanket years ago contained a hidden message, like a cryptogram for Archie Luxury. And it had some nasty words on it. Still does.
Well, just one nasty word.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Anyway, it's quite a story. It's one that we can't fully tell here, but
and the nice thing is with the avatar, putting a little circle around it, it blocks up just enough.
Yes. Well, what the deal was is Clyde sent that picture in to Archie for a watch review, and Archie spent like 45 minutes on a live stream making a video about that collection, not decoding the fact that there were nasty words spelled out in watches.
Nasty word.
So that was one of your finer moments. Before we move on, Clyde, what do you have an opinion on rose gold versus yellow gold in general?
No, not really. I think. Wait a minute. Is this guy? Did this guy study under Ron the Shrink? Because come to think of it, okay. Can he?
If so, he needs immediate commitment. If so,
yeah. All right. No, I think it really depends upon the pieces. Normally, I kind of like yellow, but when it comes to, like, say, the root beer GMT from Rolex, I love rose gold in that.
It's so warm. I've asked my AD to get me one of those. It's so warm. Upvote, Mike. Thank you, guys. Hit the thumbs up for us, please. Do so immediately. So, well, SUN is saying that the 41 millimeter sub is actually 40.5. Yeah, they like the OP41 isn't 41. It's more like 39. They mess with this stuff constantly. Isn't the 41 actually? Yes, it is. They're very, very cool. They play fast.
But it's just like anything else, though. Minor changes in the proportions can make a big overall difference in ways that it's almost unfathomable until you put it on.
Super. Well, that's why.
Even like a bracelet, tapering just imperceptibly can make a difference, and huge difference the way a watch wears.
Is the fifth fathomable?
Yes.
Thank you. Here's the thing.
Clever wordplay, by the way.
I am of mixed feelings regarding the new 41 millimeter sub. I like the proportions of the watch head better and the lugs. I like that better. I don't like the widening of the bracelet. It's just 1 millimeter wider, but when you get down to the clasp, the clasp occupies a lot more wrist space. It goes much farther across the wrist, and it's wider. So where their solution to the clasp, I think, was inelegant. To the lugs, elegant, but look, I wouldn't turn one down. I absolutely could carry it off. I think most people could wear it. I certainly can. But there's just something about that dramatic taper on the 40 millimeter sub down to that very reasonable dimension clasp that just makes it beautiful. That I think it's just far more toolish, far more rugged, less aesthetic on the newer version. That's all.
Let me answer Der Stiefel's question.
Which question?
The question by Der Stiefel at the very end.
Well, there are like 20. So why don't you give me a time, and then I will look at the time.
12:05 p.m. Literally, it's like one of the second to last.
That's fine. It's just he's been active today, so I don't know which one you mean. And I'm way up there. Okay, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Der Stiefel, can we talk about the craziness, which is Christopher Ward releasing probably the biggest drop of 2022 with the Bel Canto?
What is it, Clyde?
Right.
What's the Bel Canto?
Well, a lot of people have been talking about it. So can we talk about it? Yes. We are perfectly capable about talking about this watch. We both have the ability to talk about this watch. Are we, in fact, going to do so? No. No, we're not. Now,
Saludos, amigo Marc.
Shall we? So can we? Yes. Shall we or should we? No.
Calm down, Clyde. You've just spent more time talking about how you're not going to talk about it than you would have said, than you would have expended if you had talked about it. Listen, I want to say hello to Javier Ramirez in Mexico. Saludos, mi amigo Marc. Javier and I got together some years ago in Mexico City for a memorable night. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you, mi amigo. All right, Clyde. So back to that Bel Canto, Clyde. What do you think?
Well, it's just like, you look at it, it's like, God, that is actually a really nice looking watch.
Well, let's have a look at it. Let me. Now I need to actually find it on the internet and show the people. Hold on. You vamp while I'm doing that.
And of course, Bel Canto, I believe, is Italian, which is, I think, beautiful singing, I believe.
Beautiful song. Yeah.
But oh,
so
God,
that was cool.
It is a cool watch, but it's Christopher Ward. I mean,
look at that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So this watch is $3,400. It's skeletonized.
And it's sold out.
You're seeing the bridge. The actual time is in that subdial at the tippy top. The rest of it is all skeletonized bridge work.
Yeah.
That is freaking cool. So, I mean, I don't know if there's horology to that or just cleverness of design. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh,
They've done the movement.
It's a cleverness of design, horology itself.
Mm. Now, are you just jealous that it's out while the Lyrique is tardy? What's the status? Can we talk about that?
Okay, well, actually, I did kind of miss the. I think they're going to talk about it this morning, about two hours ago, but I kind of missed it. Unfortunately, I was doing errands this morning. It is an attractive watch, but here's the thing: anything that captures any attention, anything that that is a blip that breaks the surface, any pebble that causes a ripple sells out.
Yeah, I would have bought that watch too. I'm sure they'll be on the secondary market now for like $6-7 grand, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good listen. I haven't had a hell of a lot of respect for Christopher Ward because I feel like all of their watches are just they look like GoFundMe projects. Okay. They all look like Kickstarter projects. That one, I feel like reflects some intensive study of the market, brings in some old classic designs and creates something new and with just beautiful architecture. So their Stiefel, I think that's freaking beautiful, honestly. And the price point's insane. So for what it is.
It's also really beautiful.
What's that?
Super chat.
Well, it's been a quiet morning for super chats. I think
that's why you probably should answer the one that actually sent us one. One.
Okay, I'll do that. Let me go find it. Thanks, Clydesy. Thomason, super chat. Thank you, Thomason. I'm so glad that you and well over 100 punters are still with me. All right, I'm looking back up now, flying back up, looking for.
No, also, if you would like our personal, in-depth opinions about the RT Luxury situation, we should have not shared publicly. This would be the time to super chat and ask.
Not the private chit chat that we've been having every day.
We've been totally having private chit chat. We chat and chat all the time.
Clyde, how much of it is slander versus libel in our chit chat if it were to go public?
Well, it's all libel since it's all written, except for right now. Every once in a while when we talk about it, no, I don't think we do video unless it's like a live stream. Now, if it was a video or on the phone, then it would be slander.
So let me ask you a question:
oral versus written.
But do we have malice aforethought?
Yes, we totally have malice. Yeah, totally.
We totally do.
No, also fun thought.
Exactly. What do you think is hard? It's premeditated. What do you think is harder to get, Panda Daytona or Blue Sky Dweller? Listen, I think it's the Panda Daytona by a nose.
Oh, yeah.
Not by a length, but by a nose. S. Yuna's saying probably a fake Patek Tiffany because Clyde, one of our people, was saying he clocked a Tiffany Patek in the wild, and I didn't mean to be doubtful, but unless he was living in Billionaires Row in New York, I was a little doubtful. Oh, I'm sorry that G Motion. I'm offended as a redhead. The last great punching bag. All right, I'll find it. Do not mean to offend my ginger friends because I called somebody the redheaded stepchild.
Right.
Sorry. Javier Ramirez sends 13 Mexican pesos. Gracias, Javier. Otra vez. Nos debemos de ver uno de estos días. I really miss Mexico City, Clyde. I years and years ago, I had a boyfriend in Mexico City, and I had an apartment there, and I went constantly. And not that I.
The avatar. It looks like you found 2 children and decided to keep them.
He made beautiful kids, and I gotta say,
you may have just found them.
I missed Mexico City more than the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul says it was definitely a Patek. When it was in Grand Cayman. Okay. Oh, you live in Grand Cayman, so I believe it. You get a lot of rich tourists coming through Grand Cayman. In fact, in Grand Cayman, there's a beautiful. Paul, you'll know which store it is. It's a beautiful.
Sorry. What the hell did you just say?
I don't know what I say. You tell me.
Oh, I think. No, I distinctly heard what name you called me, and I am not having that, sir. I'm not having that.
Are you talking to me?
You called me Paul. Up yours.
I'm talking to Paul McMenamin, the
Okay, sorry. Okay. You understand why? Okay, never mind. Go ahead. Yes, please.
I do understand. I do.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're very tolerant with me, Clyde. You do take a lot of crap from me, but I don't think you would take me calling you Archie. Okay, so in the Grand Cayman, there's a beautiful AD that sells a lot of brands, including Cartier. And I was there on a cruise ship stop. First place I ever tried on the Cartier Calibre de Diver, which I bought years later. Not there, but I love that store. It was beautiful, and they let me try that watch on. And back in the days when you could buy stuff over the counter in the Grand Caymans. So, Paul, I believe you now, based on where you live. You get a lot of money coming through there. A lot of money.
And so, guys,
yes,
the Generation 1 isn't loomed.
Okay, well then, listen. I'm all in favor of the 39mm Explorer with lubed numerals. My bad. That for me, that would be the one, because you get the best combination of size, because size matters, and lume. I don't like a 36mm. Now, our friend Vintinier, he's got a big wrist, Clyde, but he loves his 36mm, and they look fine on him. I do not. Thomason says AC3 should be kicking himself really bad for losing his new Sky Dweller. And he is. He privately told me that he was very sorry that he didn't wear that on the trip to America, because it would have made a lot of sense, because it has the GMT function. He took the Explorer because it had the GMT function and he could track time zones. But
and he's also kind of known for the Polar Explorer.
Exactly. But yeah, he was definitely kicking himself over that. He is. He will be for a really long time.
Now, if he did that on a live stream, I would subscribe. It's like, if that required a paid subscription, kick himself.
Would you hit the thumbs up for that, Clyde?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I'd hit the button.
Scott, is a Datejust 36 Wimbledon dial a good first Rolex to ask the AD for? Clyde, yes or no?
No, I'd say yes.
No.
Come on. No, it depends how you mean. Now, if you're just going to be a flipper, then no. On the other hand, assuming you do like the watch, that would be one you'd be likely to get.
I doubt it.
That would be the one. That would be the one to build an association with the dealer with.
I disagree, because it's a hype watch, and it's a hype dial, and I think asking for any hype watch at all puts you immediately in the suspect category. You should be going in there and asking for any other 36. It's not a good first one. Don't get me wrong. It's a great watch. Okay. It's a great dial, but he's specifically asking, is it a good icebreaker with the AD? And it's a hype watch, Clyde.
Don't use the Wimbledon dial. Do not use the term. Describe the dial and say, I always thought the one with this and this and this and this looks pretty.
Yeah.
Or nice.
You might get lucky, but I think it might be a hard one. The piano, can you see the piano? I don't think you can see the piano is a Steinway Baby Grand, and it's virtual. you silly man. It's virtual. YouTube user is on the list for a Batman, but with the release of the challenge, I'm thinking of switching. So in other words, you're thinking of switching from one impossible watch to another impossible watch, going from an A watch to an AAAA list. What do you think, Clyde? What's his chances?
Well, I don't know. If he subscribed to the other channel, he might want to start with 2 A's.
Well, look, here's what I think. YouTube user, if you're in good with your AD, I think, yeah, you could do that. Actually, I do. And I think your chances of getting a challenge, oddly, might be even a little better if you're a current customer. Might be a little better than a Batman, because that challenge is so enormous that its audience is going to just be much more limited, and the appeal of the Batman is much broader. However, if you haven't broken the ice with an AD yet, I don't think either of them is easy to get as a first date watch. Okay. So when you say you're on the list, if you don't have a relationship with the AD, here's what they do with the list every morning. They rip up the previous day's list and they start over, so it just depends on if you have a relationship already. Dear God, Clyde, I've been here over an hour. Do you think they'll bring back the Tiffany 41? Strange, as they still have the Tiffany in 36. No, I don't think so. Not if the Stella dials from the 70s and 80s are to be our guide to this. current Stella dial. I wouldn't think so. But you know, they reissued the Batman after unreissuing it. They discontinued them. So, you know, with Rolex, you never know. But I would say chances are very slim. I'm glad I have one of those OP41 in Tiffany. Well, we talked about that one already. Thumbs up for Mark and Clyde. Thank you for joining me, Clyde.
Thanks for having me on the show.
I haven't had you yet, Clyde, but we're
on the show. I said on the show. Well, as soon as I caught, even before the first phrase, so I added to it.
Clyde, I'm thinking of starting an OnlyFans. What do you think? Should we start an OnlyFans together, like a joint account?
I'm not even sure what OnlyFans are.
OnlyFans, you look it up.
Okay.
Scott Wexland still waiting on the SD43 now from 2 different ADs, almost 2 years for the first, 3 months for the second, and I have a watch history purchase from both. That is odd.
Well, that's just the whole point. You're just not going to get it.
Yeah, 2 years.
Remember when those are? Remember those are redheads? Sorry. Remember those were relatively unwanted.
Yes, I do.
Like if you get them at the AD, like. Yeah,
they're still one of the lesser loved of the professional, watches, I think, and that's reflected in their price on the gray market. Which, by the way, Scott, if I were you, why would you wait 2 years when the gray market premium on that watch is not crazy right now? I mean, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I can tell you it's as minimal as it has been in a long time. I would not wait 2 years, and I would not. And that one where you're on for 3 months, if they haven't satisfied that order in the next 2 months, just go grab it on the gray market. I mean, you can get a beautiful example there for the lowest price in the last 4 years. So that's what why would you wait? And if you're thinking, well, because I want it new, because I wouldn't wear somebody's used watch. Well, I mean, have you ever put a fork in your mouth at a restaurant? Because that's been in like 10,000 mouths before you. Have you ever slept in a hotel bed? Because do you know what happened on those sheets thousands of times before you ever get there, let alone sit down in a public toilet? So let me just tell you, unless you married a virgin and carry your own cutlery and toilet seats with you and your own bedding, I feel like the gray market is just fine. It's all got to do with what is the relative pricing. But I don't have time to wait, Clyde. I'm getting old. I need to get my watches now while I have time to enjoy them. And you more so, Clyde. You're older than me.
I'm not.
I know, but everybody thinks you are. Rolex also loom bezel numbers. I'm in big favor of that. Their sister company does. Tudor's been looming. This is a loomed bezel, and Tudor's been doing that for ages, at least on this watch. So the Pelagos. So will Rolex follow suit? One never knows. It's a good question. I think it might be safer if they loomed it and then capped it in sapphire, because I think loom is more subject to chipping, and Rolex is really big on durability. So I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen anytime soon. Clyde, we're going to have to rewrite the Fistmas song. So rude, so nasty. I love you so much. Her Inda Zoop says he loves Zoop. Me too. I'm going to have to check my Zoop in a minute because I've been simmering split pea this whole time.
Now I noticed like Scott McMahon is making a comment at 12:21.
Bear with. Let's find it. What do I write about? Clyde?
Well, no. Okay. Just what do you think about? Read the comment.
Thanks for the advice, Mark. I believe you're right. I'm always right. But what is he talking about? I lost track.
No, I didn't say no. I said Paul McMahon at 12:21. That's Scott Wexland at 12:24.
Kirk Freeport is the AD in Grand Cayman. Kirk Freeport. And they are great.
That was a representation of a not Kirk Freeport.
I have a great relationship with it. Picked up the two-tone root beer 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's a beautiful AD and a beautiful setting. I'd love that place, and I would like to go back, but Yeah, very nice. OnlyFans is where you go full Brokeback Mountain with the rancher. So that's OnlyFans, Clyde. Clyde, make sure you bring the pork and beans. Okay.
Well, I was just wondering about a Kirk free port.
I just picked up my Submariner yesterday after 12 months on the list. Well worth the wait. That's awesome. And I'm good on you. I'm glad for you. The problem is people who have spent 2 and 3 years on a wait list, and they're being told they're on a wait list because they put their name down once, never checked in again.
Yep.
And then they lose 3 years of their life waiting for something that they could have had ages before if they would have put their mind focused on it. So, yeah.
Hi, guys. Of course, don't bring donuts and coffee. That's just kissing ass. That's just sorry. I'm sorry. Unless the salespeople are hot. Then
what's the Cookie Monster, Clyde?
Well, they're asking you a question, so it obviously has to be a Rolex. Okay, hold it. Rolex Cookie Monster.
Clyde tickling the ivories.
Huh. Oh, apparently it's the blue one.
The blue one what?
Submariner.
Oh, the old blueberry. Yeah, what do I think of it?
The Cookie Monster is black and blue. Black dial and blue.
Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, so it's white gold. It's the 41 millimeter white gold, blue bezel, black dial Rolex Submariner. Would I say yes to it at retail? Okay, maybe. But in my particular case, here's where I would be. I mean, it's like a $40,000 watch. So it's a huge commitment. And what I would be thinking to myself was, I don't need 2 gold Rolexes. I've got the yellow gold. So do I want to trade the yellow gold towards the white gold? I've often advocated against trading.
And because you look at this watch, your watch you're trading in, you look at it as valuable treasure, and they look at it kind of like when you take your dry cleaning, you laundry over to dry cleaner.
It's just a commodity that they buy and sell.
They look at it like your soiled underwear. Yeah. They're not going to get paid for handling your underwear unless they're going to make money.
So, but I might, but I would really, that's the question that's the question I would have to ponder. Clyde, hold the fort for got to go stir the soup. I will be back in like 2 minutes, if that.
Oh, it's called Kirk Free Port after the owner is named Kirk, and free because the jewelry is tax-free, and port because the store is besides the port.
Clyde, the soup looks really good.
Well, why don't you show us about the soup? Why don't you eat the soup while you sit down at the piano and play for us?
Because all I know is how to play heart and soul and chopsticks. Okay.
Well, maybe you play the latter one. Maybe Jen will come on the stream.
Yeah, that's good. Needs salt. Salt, lemon juice, a little vinegar, but I'm almost there. Freaking good.
All right. Now, SUN is saying Blueberry is 41 is sub MSRP price and secondary market as well.
Oh, well, I'm a big believer in
it should be. In other words, normalization. At least some freaking aspect of our insane lives is getting a little bit more normal.
Fair point.
But it's been crazy for so long that we don't even know what normal's like.
Clyde, I think this is a good question for both of us. I'm going to let you go first. If you had to liquidate your collection, which would be the last to go?
Huh. Well, it would either be the Urban Jurgensen, because I'd no longer be an urban cowboy, or possibly the Lyrique, but I can't really say it for sure since I haven't seen it yet. You want to turn your sound on there, Mother?
Well, I had to have no.
Okay. Is that okay? Is that Satan's kitten?
You don't really need to hear my ice maker. I'll be right back. Don't leave.
All right. Is the soup even real or is it virtual?
The soup is real. The ice maker is real.
Gotcha.
The piano is virtual. Everything.
How about the fireplace?
The soup is amazing. I have a fireplace, but that's not the fireplace that I have, sadly. Sadly, my virtual house is a lot nicer than my real house, but they're both pretty good. You should see my virtual boyfriend.
See, the thing is, well, the thing is though, and now we're going to watch Mark Goldberg perish on screen.
Oh, facts.
The boy liked that a lot. But
hi, Aaron, how are you?
Oh. Okay, he's waving because I've asked him to simmer down a little bit. Okay, let's continue. Of course, the background is virtual. There's no dogs on the sofa. That's true. And having a white sofa would be a very bad idea in my life.
Right.
Oh, I never answered. What would be the last piece that would go for me? Man, this is tough. It would be a Rolex. I would hold on to a Rolex last. And I think maybe I would be looking at it not from the standpoint of money.
It'd be your Rolex date. I'd
be looking at that's the sentimental.
Yeah, exactly.
But but see, Clyde, I wasn't going to say I would be looking at it from the sentimental perspective versus the monetary perspective, because there's one other aspect that has to be considered, and that's the practical use aspect, and that watch doesn't have the practical use. I would probably go for the watch that I found the most versatile and practical. So I would really be, I think, torn between the Hulk, the Pepsi, and the Sprite. Those would be the three that I would struggle with. And I'd probably the Hulk. Honestly, at the end of the day, I'd probably keep the Hulk. I think it's the most practical. I time pizzas a lot more often than I change time. So I don't change time zones that often, but I time a pizza often with that bezel. So that'd probably be the Hulk. Would you pick the Breitling GMT2, Omega S&P 300, or the Aquaterra? Well, I could tell you the Breitling GMT2. I don't know that one. I had an Avenger GMT Breitling. But of all these, the S&P 300, that's the one I did choose. I've got two of them, black and white. What do you think, Clyde? We wrapping it up? I got a lot more comments to get through. You still good for another few minutes? He's muted himself. Okay. Okay. Clyde, leave my Alexa alone. Alan McGregor was on Friday at my AD at Switzerland picking up my Sky Dweller, and I was for 2 hours there. Well, 2 hours is a lovely, nice. In Europe, business is done a little bit differently than it's done here. You're in and out. Although when you're buying a Rolex, they do want to give you a show and nice treatment. But in Europe, you have a coffee, then you have an espresso, then you have a biscotti, then you have a little glass of champagne, you have some discussion, and then we get around to the money. I'm glad you had that experience. That's great.
Right.
Well, Clyde, what safe would you recommend? Clyde, I would recommend either Clyde's sock drawer or the bank vault. The bank safety deposit box is where your stuff should be. It is where Clyde and I generally keep watches. And the reason for that is, look at Archie. He had a pretty good commercial safe and they attacked it anyway.
Well, yeah, because if it's just standing there out in the open.
Well, there's that. He didn't have a burglar alarm protecting the perimeter. I mean, there's a lot.
Check. If you want to supercharge this, we'll tell you about our own particular theories involving the break-in. But right. We're not going to do it.
Clyde wants to hold back, but this is the show where we do stuff for free here a little bit. Clyde, come on. But I would say, I don't think, honestly, I think you lock your guns up in a gun safe more for like the security of having them accessible, if you want them accessible, but to prevent casual theft. But there's no safe that's going to withstand a 6-hour attack. They don't make such a thing. It's the bank vault. That's That's where you want to be. And if you have something in a safe in your home, you need to protect that safe. And you protect that safe with a perimeter burglar alarm monitored by somebody that calls the police if you're not home. I mean, there's a lot to know about this, guys, but personal security, you should read up. Is a Milgauss on the menu? Yeah.
Ready to send?
Okay, Clyde, I know what you're doing, but stop. Is a Milgauss on the menu at an AD if you have no purchase history? Von Kruel, we were talking about this earlier. It's probably one of the slightly better ones to put in for of a professional watch. So yeah, I think that's an okay start. I do, because it's not so popular.
Well, Random Rob just totally came out of nowhere.
Yeah, random.
Wait a minute.
Happy Sunday, fellas. Rob, always a pleasure to see you. And Rob, I would send you a link, except for we're going to be getting off in just a few minutes. So,
not only that, we're going to be ending the stream.
That's what I meant. Clyde, you're the Speedmaster guy. What do you think of the 57?
Yeah, I do like it, but it's tough picking a favorite because I think they're over milking it. They're over milking it like they always do. They're going to over milk until they take anything that's special out of the brand or out of the reference.
This was where, as Yoon was saying, the 41 millimeter white gold sub is at MSRP in the secondary market as well. And if it's at MSRP, that means as a practical matter, you could probably buy it $2,000 or $3,000 cheaper if you negotiate and hold out, than MSRP. And I noticed that also, Clyde and Mr. Yoon. I noticed that also. And it did give me pause for thought. I really did have to go, it's under MSRP, but it's still like 40 grand. The reason that it catches my attention is the yellow gold sub screams gold Rolex. The white gold sub, to be very honest, it looks a lot like an Invicta.
Right.
So it's stealth wealth. It looks more like an Invicta. Hit the like button for Clyde. Do it for Clyde. If you haven't hit the like button for me, at least do it for Clyde.
Hit the super chat button for Mark.
Thanks, Clydesy. Clive and Mark, what's your opinion of the Rose Skydweller on Oysterflex Gray? First and only PM purchase for me. Precious metal.
I think it'd be a nice looking watch. You
can't go wrong. They don't make a bad Skydweller. I'll tell you what, though, the most beautiful Skydweller I think has been discontinued, and it was rose gold bracelet, chocolate dial Romans. Just wow. But it was a $50,000 watch, and it didn't last.
Right.
Did not last. Well, boys, I think we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me, Clive. I appreciate your presence. Thank you. And you behaved so well, Clyde. I want to thank you for that.
That's all right.
Any parting words?
I just want to screw with you now, but I'm not.
Thank you, Clyde. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Mark Vlogs Watches with my special guest, Clive, the Rancher Anderson, and I'm your host, Mark Goldberg. Thanks for being with. God bless.